So, you've seen the destructive power of the Lance online and wondering to yourself, was Lance always that cool? You're thinking about playing it and joining the Chad army, but not sure where to start. You tell your friend Jimmy you're thinking about picking up the Lance, and he calls the Lance a twig with a shield that does no damage. Well, I'm here to tell you that Jimmy is wrong and you need new friends. The fact you've been thinking about playing the Lance highlights how much of a Chad you really are. And in this video, we'll be taking that Chadness and turning you into a Giga Chad. So stick around, grab your shield, because on this journey, I'll teach you everything I know about the Lance. Firstly, my credentials. I've been playing the Lance since Monster Hunter Tri, and that's been about 15 years. And in those years, the Lance has changed little by little. But now in WoWs, it's changed so much, it's a whole different type of beast, full of more parry options than any other weapon in the game, while also having the ability to dash down your opponent across the battlefield. Trust me when I say, this is the best game to join the Lance army. I also want to point out, I am not a speedrunner. Although I have a lot of experience, I don't naturally look at the game from the lens of a speedrunner. This video will have some calculations in it, and I'll try not to make it too overwhelming. But I believe understanding some of the numbers will help you understand why people play the way they play. If you're not a pro player, this guide will help you on your way to joining the Lance army. So, let's do this. What are we covering today? We'll start off talking about the Lance and its moveset, optimal play, good skills for the weapon, and weapons and armors to look out for, and then lastly, gameplay examples, and trust me, you want to check up on that. The Lance in this game has a lot to it, and to play it well requires fast decision making, which this segment will help you understand. If you want to skip any segment, I'll have timestamps down below. Now with that out of the way, let's briefly talk about the Lance. The Lance is the most defensive weapon in the game, filled with counters, perfect parries, and dashes as we said before. But now in WoWs, we've been given the power to be offensive kings, which I do like indeed. There are many different ways to approach the monsters in WoWs with the Lance. Some options that allow you to strike back with speed, while others give you a bit more oomph, yet are laggier. Understanding what to use and when will be key, and this goes for options from parries or just from naturally attacking. With that said, let's get into the moveset. Now, in WoWs, I use a Switch controller, and for those bindings, I'll have them on the top left of the screen. Lance is filled with a series of thrusts. This is the basis of your weapon. You have the mid thrust and high thrust. These are the bread and butter of your combos. Mid thrust, as the name suggests, attacks in front of you, while high hits high. You can string along 3 of these at once, 3 mids or 3 high, or even a mid, then high, then a mid once again. And then after the 3rd hit, depending on your thrust, a different unique move would be available. For the mid thrust input, it will be the triple thrust poke, a series of attacks that deal quite a lot of damage to your opponent. Or with the high, the charge counter, giving you a counter, if timed correctly, will hit back at the monster with devastating damage. We'll get into this one a bit later. But first, there are different reasons you'd want to use one over the other. Firstly, the reach. Some parts of the monster you want to hit that are high. Thus, the high thrust is the best option for that job. Things such as tails or the face or maybe even the back. While the mid is more useful when you're attacking right in front of you, as it will have a longer reach in that direction. Another thing is, mid thrusts are slightly faster than high. Not by much, but it could make a difference in what you want to use at a given state in your gameplay. And then lastly, high thrusts do more damage, which makes sense given it's slightly slower, and we're going to get more into that later on in the video. We'll get into calculations of which thrust is more optimal in a bit, but first let's finish off with the rest of the moves. There's also the leaping thrust. It's a movement option attack that moves you slightly forward while thrusting, applying 2 ticks of damage. It's quite laggy, but the movement forward can be useful and it's one of your strongest thrusts. We have the wide sweep. This move does a lot of damage. It can be used after a thrust has been performed, not from the get-go. Similar to the leaping thrust, it's also very laggy, so be careful with this one, but the strength of it does make up for the fact it's laggy. Okay, those are your bread and butter combos. Next, let's move into the guards. Now, as you said before, guarding is a big staple for the Lance, and in this game, you have plenty of ways to go about it. Firstly, you have the normal guard, which will block any attack coming your way. Well, not necessarily. There are some moves in Monster Hunter which are unblockable, which means even if you block them, you'll still get hit. But we're going to talk about that more later when we talk about skills. After blocking an attack, the hunter automatically will throw out a shield bash right at the monster. Also, it's good to note, this game is all about perfect parrying. If you time your guarding correctly, you'll perform a perfect parry, and from a perfect parry, any action after, including the shield bash, will be stronger. So try perform perfect parries whenever possible, but don't get too greedy. While guarding, you have a couple of options. Firstly, you have the guard thrust. This allows you to guard while attacking at the same time. Honestly, it's not very useful as it doesn't do that much damage, so you won't be using this attack much. And then secondly, you have the guard dash. This allows you to gain distance while guarding yourself from attacks. Very useful to get in on a monster. This move can be used in any direction, so hopefully it will do you well. From the guard dash, you have more options. The shield bash, the leaping thrust, or just to keep on guarding for a safe option. The shield bash is a small attack where you bash the monster with your shield. Any attacks from the shield will do KO damage on the head and exhaust damage on the body. We'll get into that a bit later. Now, after you guard an attack, you have even more options that opens up to you. Firstly, the return thrust, payback thrust, retribution thrust, and also the guard dash. The return thrust is a more powerful strike back at a monster. Pretty standard, but very useful. The payback thrust is a more powerful move that can be quite laggy. It deals 2 ticks of damage, which is quite nice. And then from that, you have even more options. The triple thrust, the charge counter, the wide sweep, the guard dash, and the dash attack. As you can see, the lance is filled with options. It's pretty damn crazy. We briefly mentioned the charge counter earlier. Basically, letting go at the right time will lead you to dealing damage right back at the monster. And if done well, you won't take any chip damage. A very interesting move, yet difficult to pull off. You will also be guarding while using this move, which is very useful. Another thing to note is depending on how you get into the charge counter depends on the strength. The move needs to be charged up for a while, from white to yellow to red, getting stronger the longer you hold it. If you get into the move, however, from a high thrust input we talked about earlier, you'll start off in the red form, starting you off in the highest DPS possible. But other ways into the weapon, you'll start off in the white or even the yellow, so bear that in mind while you hunt. Next, we have the Retribution Thrust. This ability is awesome, allowing you to thrust forward at the monster. It's quite laggy, so you want to watch out what you do after this move. You can end on a triple poke, a charge counter, a guard dash, or go straight into the dash attack. Now, along with the guard, you also have something called the power guard, which anchors you in place for a stronger guard. From this also gives you a new array of moves to follow up from. The leaping thrust, retribution thrust, and lastly, the payback thrust. And if you're hit while performing this move, the retribution thrust gets an upgrade into the grand, I repeat, the grand retribution thrust. And trust me when I say, that move is sweet. Woo! The grand retribution thrust deals 3 packets of damage instead of the 2 that the retribution thrust did, which is pretty damn cool. You get the same array of options as the standard retribution thrust after performing this move. Now, there's one last move that I forgot about, and I can't believe we did. The dash attack. Now, the dash attack is great, allowing you to move down, striking at the monster right in front of you. Now, this moves at a decent speed, is not faster than your sacred, and most monsters will outrun you if you try to chase them in the open field. But if you can do it right, it allows you to make distance, get right in the monster, and do damage while doing it. And the damage you do is pretty damn good, trust me on that. After a couple seconds of using the move, it actually upgrades into the full speed, allowing you to get straight into the monster's face. And to end a dash attack, you can either end with a finishing thrust, or you can end with a guard, helping you block any attacks coming your way. You can also turn around while using this move too, which is pretty sweet, gives you a bit extra mobility in turning. And you can even swerve around the monster too. It kind of makes you feel like a motorcycle on a racetrack, right? It's pretty damn nice. Honestly, it's a pretty fun way to play, and there are some very optimal ways to use this ability. So stay tuned for that. Lastly, by turning around, you can end with a sweep right behind you. It's not as strong as the finishing thrust right in front of you, but it's pretty damn good. Oh, lastly, you can also jump, which is pretty nice if you want to get a mount without having any ledges or height as an advantage. So use that well to get an early mount. And in this game, 2 attacks from the air will get you mount pretty damn quick. So make sure you do that in your hunts at least once. There's one more thing we need to talk about when it comes to the dash attack actually. After either of the retribution thrust, you can go into a dash attack, but this isn't just a normal dash attack, it's actually called the follow-up dash attack. Now the follow-up dash attack starts you at the maximum speed even faster than the normal dash attack, allowing you to do higher DPS faster than you would have normally through the normal dash attack, which is pretty damn great. Honestly, it's amazing. But enough dash attack glazing, let's get into the rest of the video. Alright, let's get back into the thrust combo, giving you the possible options you can go down. Things have changed since the beta, so you're going to want to pay attention to this one. I don't have any coefficients or motion values of how the damage works behind the scenes, but I will use my testing as a good place to highlight the differences in damage. We'll start out comparing mid thrust 1 and high thrust 1. So as you can see, mid thrust 1 and mid thrust 2 are faster than high 1 and high 2. But when it comes to 3, high thrust 3 is actually faster than mid 3 and it does more damage. So mid 3 is pretty bad and you should probably avoid it. We can also do some further calculations dividing by how much damage the move did by how many frames it took to complete the move. But let's not stop there. Let's also compare the leap and thrust and the wide sweep. And with that, here are the results. So given leaping thrust has the highest damage per frame, using that at the start of a combo makes the most sense. Then going from there, wide sweep has the highest damage compared to mid thrust and high thrust 2. But at the end of the combo, high thrust 3 gives you the most value. So ending on that is very important. But of course it depends on your situation. If you don't have that much time to use a wide sweep or leaping thrust, keeping it to the high thrust may be for the best, so you can at least get damage in and don't get hit. So assessing the situation and using the combos most suited for the situation will improve your lance play. Now if anyone has any different data from their experiments, let me know down below, because if I'm wrong, I'm happy to clear it up down in the comments or in a new video. The way I came up with these frames is I took recordings of me using the weapons and counted the frames for when the move starts into when the move ends. One interesting thing I tested out was if you try to use the dash attack, in the long run, would it out damage the high DPS combo? I use Vaydal's lance, so an elemental lance, and elemental lances work best on small packets of damage. So the dash attack should actually perform quite well in this test. And damn, as you can see here, as you start to cycle to second round of the high DPS combo, the dash attack actually starts to outperform that combo, which is pretty insane. So guys, in the long run, dash attacking, if you can, for a long period of time on a monster is actually the strongest way to deal damage in this game right now for the lance. Which I don't think many people would have thought about. So dash attacking is pretty damn great in this game in general. So don't scoff at it, alright? Give it a go. Okay, now that out of the way, let's move off script to show you in game the focus mode, what you can do with it, and also how you should play the lance in general, in my opinion. Alright guys, now we're in game with the lance, testing out some focus mode. And focus mode, as you can see on the top right, is actually my LT, which is my far trigger button, all the way at the back, top left one. And you can hold it to get into focus mode and you can look around, which is pretty cool. Now mid thrust, you can actually move to the side while doing them, which is pretty nice, helps you reposition yourself if you need to hit the monster and also dodge at the same time. Also note that mid thrust are actually faster when you're actually moving backwards in focus mode or moving to the side in focus mode. Now this is very interesting because it's quicker, but you actually do the same amount of damage for each hit. It's the same thrust 1 damage rather than it ramping up. So one thing you could actually do is move to the side and then end on a mid thrust without moving, and you'll actually do more damage. That's if you want to play that way, of course. That's all on you guys, that's all on you. I haven't really done the calculations on that one, but maybe there could be something there, that the speed is fast enough to make up for the lack of damage. Now, high thrust, you don't actually get to turn around in the same way or move around. You just turn around like this, which can be a bit of a shame. It makes it that high thrust loses value in focus mode, really. But if you need to move around and hit certain targets of the monster, there is no damage loss or damage gain in focus mode with high thrust. It's all the same. It's all the same. Which is pretty cool. Now, let's just turn on the wounds so we can actually look at what the wounds look like. Now we got some moons here. Now I'm in focus mode. I'm going to press the top button, RB for me, as you can see, a victory thrust. First, you raise your shield. You come in with some stun damage and you finish with a thrust. Now, that does quite a bit of damage, and the shield portion actually does some stun damage. And on the side of the body, if it's not the head, exhaust damage, which is pretty cool. What this means is if you keep on doing it on the head, you're going to stun the monster. Eventually, you're definitely going to stun them. There you go. As you see, you can stun the monster with your victory thrust, which is pretty cool. Now, the victory thrust, you don't need to hold it for long. If you just leave it after pressing it, it will keep on going and then it will automatically stop. But if you then press it again, it will end early. Now, you can end it early just in case the monster's about to move and you just want to get in the final thrust, because the final thrust is the stronger portion. As you can see, I was hitting a lot of 34s, and then the final thrust was doing 391s or something like that, which is a lot more damage than hitting 34. Yeah, so ideally, if you think the monster's going to move and you're not going to be able to hit a good spot, end it quick and just get your damage out, just like that. Because that's a lot of damage, honestly. Wow, that's powerful. If you think about that, that is more powerful than any move that we have on the Lance. So think about that while you're playing in the game. And guys, as you move forward with the focus strike, you actually get some super armor. The animation does make it seem like it blocks, but it doesn't block. As you can see, I still get hit, but I don't get flown away. Because if I get hit in any other means, I go flying. So it does give you some type of armor. Capcom probably should have put a block on that, but I guess they didn't, and it's just what it is. Okay guys, a couple more things you can do in focus mode. As you know, when you do your leap and thrust, you can kind of aim it. So if you need to move at the last second because something's changed, you're aiming forward. Nope, monster's over there. You can do that too. How far can you move? Let's have a look. It's about 90 degrees actually. You can, at least for me, a bit more than 90 degrees. A bit more than 90 degrees. Maybe if your controller is faster, if you have higher camera speed, you can move it even further. But for me, about 90, 100 degrees, you can turn around. Now, wide sweep is similar. Not in the same way, but depending on where you are. There you go. As you can see, it's a bit hard to do because you have to press a lot of buttons. But you can turn around with the wide sweep as well, which is pretty damn nice. Well, guys, that's pretty much it when it comes to the focus mode, to be honest. Now, we're going to actually go through some skills, and then we're going to go fight some monsters and show you just an example of how I play the Lance in-game. Alright, let's go. Okay, guys, now we're just looking at weapons. So the way that Monster Hunter Wilds works is that there are weapons skills linked to weapons only, and some other skills linked to armor only as well. So for example, as we can see here, the Expedition tree, we have Crit Eye and Speed Sharpening 2, which is pretty good for this weapon, to be honest. And then we might see another one like this Shining Pillar, which has Elemental Crit and Master's Touch. So there are some better skills than others here. For the most part, you want things that give guard, which are good, offensive guard, and any crit based thing is also good as well, because many of these weapons have decoration slots which allow you to then slot in things such as guard, offensive guard, or other types of guarding mechanisms that you need to make up for the fact that you don't have them on the weapons themselves. Now, a good example of this is the One Polar Tree. This one has guard up, it doesn't have guard. So if you have a guard 3 slot, you can actually slot in guard 3 instead. And then with the guard 2 slot, you can do anything else with that too. Or you can slot level 2 guard jewel and a level 1 guard jewel to get level 3. And then with your 3 slot, you can slot in something else entirely, like offensive guard, allowing you to get all 3 necessary skills. So really, it comes down to personal preference of how you want to build your Lance. And one more thing when it comes to guard up, what guard up does, it allows you to block unblockable attacks, as there are some unblockable attacks in Monster Hunter, which can get pretty annoying, but not all monsters have unblockable attacks. So there are certain times where you don't need to bring guard up. So picking a Lance which doesn't have guard up, slotting it in depending on your matchup is great. One example is Arkveld. Arkveld's only unblockable attack is his grab. Apart from that, everything is blockable. So as long as you can dodge his grab, you don't need to bring guard up. Raid Owl's another. no unblockables. Think about monsters like that and lead that to change your judgment of what skills you bring depending on your opponent. But there are some skills I would say try to keep away from. And that's particularly one such as punishing draw and crit draw as well, which I think is here. Yes, these two don't really work on a lance much at all because these only work for your first hit after pulling out your weapon. Not really useful on the lance. So even though I like Lada Bruna's lance, I think it's a great lance. It's the only paralysis lance we have. The skill on it is not that good, honestly. Instead, if you want a paralysis lance, I would go for the Arturian lance and craft a paralyzing lance around that instead. Because this is not it, Chief. It is not it, unfortunately. But the caveat there is the Arturian lance paralyzed doesn't have that much paralyzed damage. I think at base is 100, but this has 250, which is over double. So if you're aiming on more paralyzed, maybe keep up this one. But if you want to get more damage as well and make more use of your slots, then the Arturian one is the way to go. Same for the Doshaguma, punishing jaw, doesn't matter on the lance. You don't need it. But as you can see, you got stuff like Arkveld's lance with 220 attack and 350 damage of dragon. White sharpness as well. And it has good slots and it has guard. So here you can slot in offensive guard. You can also slot in any types of crit or elemental boost you want into this set. Now in a future video, I will go over builds and ways to actually build your lance itself. But in this video, I'm just going to give you skills that are useful in general and how you should kind of go about building your lance set. Now, when it comes to armor, there are skills linked to armor, as we said before, and there are some skills that are better than others. Some things like part breaker are very useful because it allows you to break monsters' parts easier and you have more damage on wounds when using a focus strike, which is really useful, just increasing your damage overall. And then you have weakness exploit, another one allowing you to do more damage on wounds, and also this gives you affinity and extra damage as well. Very useful on the lance. And also adding into part breaker, Flare is another great skill as it makes wounds easier to inflict, and upon inflicting enough damage also deals additional non-elemental damage, which just works really well with part breaker and also weakness exploit. So those three skills in particular work together greatly. So think about that. And I suppose to add on to that, you also got Guardian Arkveld's Vitality, which restores health after destroying a wound. So it all works together quite nicely. And then you have things like a Veil Extender, which isn't an offensive skill, but having bigger hops does help a lot in the game when you try to move around the monster and also try to just catch up to them in some instances. So don't forget about this skill, it's pretty good. Now Resentment is one that I think people are sleeping on. It wasn't that good in the past, but in this game specifically, with how we're dealing with blocking and the chip damage you do take if you don't perfect parry, most of the time you're going to have a bit of red gauge health. Now when you got red gauge health, it'll increase your attack. Getting your attack increase is limited in this game through armor, so this is just a way to get some extra bonuses on attack while you're playing the lance in general. Now this won't be active all the time, as sometimes you will be full HP or not have any red gauge in general, but the times it is available, it adds a lot of damage. And interestingly enough, Bad Blood with new Ujo's skill set bonus also increases the damage you get with Resentment, which is actually pretty interesting. So that's something to think about. Agitate is another one. Some crit and some attack when the monster's enraged, which is quite useful. You also have Burst. Burst increases the damage you do with your normal attacks and elemental attacks when you land continuous hits. Now as the lance hits quite often, and definitely with the triple poke you're hitting quite a lot, you're going to add quite a bit of damage to your set. So also think about this skill. Now there's things such as Constitution, Stamina Surge, Marathon Runner, which are all stamina based. Now if you want to use a lot of the dash attack, this is going to be very helpful just to keep you up, recovering your stamina quite fast and also allowing you to get right in the monster and keep in their face with the dash attack. So it's an option, think about it. Now Heroics isn't one I'd recommend to most people normally, as it's quite difficult to actually use. You need to keep your health below 35% for an attack boost of 30% at maximum level 5, which is quite a lot of damage. This will only get stronger the further we get in the game and the more attack we have in this game. And also you get defense, which is pretty damn cool. Now, keeping below 35% health is hard, definitely if you play for Palico. So if you're going to use this, don't want Palico, you got to play by yourself. But if you can get down your perfect parries and keep your health below 35%, your damage is going to be through the roof. 30% damage is nothing to scoff at. Guys, well, that's pretty much it when it comes to the best general skills I'd say a lance player needs. Now, why don't we go through some hunts just to show you how I play the lance in general in the game. I think we're going to fight a Doshaguma, we're going to fight an Arkveld, and also an Duna, because there are a couple of different ways to play the weapon in the game, and I think those three fights really highlight the different types of ways you can play it. So let's get into this. Alright guys, and we start a quest against Doshaguma, and this time we're using the one polar weapon with the Arkveld set. I still haven't finalized what builds I want for my lance, but I think this is a good place to start. So obviously come in with the sneak attack. Alright, so I got one hit with my following dash attack after my pepper parry. Now, I used to return thrust here because he attacks twice, and if you try to use the payback thrust, you will get hit. So it really depends on the monster itself and how big the attack is going to be. Now, as you can see there, I barely made it in time because the leaping thrust is so slow. It's so laggy. So you have to really be careful. There we go. Counter into Retribution Thrust right into a jump attack, which is pretty nice. Alright. So now he's down. I can try to do the high DPS combo we talked about. See, because of how laggy it is, I didn't get to finish off what I wanted to do. And again, he missed me. So now he's down, we can do the high DPS combo again. Getting the focus strike. You see, I missed. I could have just let go quickly. Retribution Thrust. Now, a lot of his screens are open, so it's time to make use of the focus strike. Only the lance can get stuck in the corner, guys, and not care about anything. Okay. Return thrust. Power clash. Then after the power clash, I'm going to go for the leaping thrust because he lags for a second. Wide sweep. You get enough time in that on most monsters. He's about to leave, so I'm going to try focus strike his face. Nope, didn't get it. As you said, you can't really catch up to monsters anymore in this game. As soon as you get close to them, they just run at high speeds. You see the delay. Even though I perfect parried, because I don't have guard, the delay is quite a bit. There we go. Not too bad. Right, next, why don't we show some Duna and show you how we do that girl. Okay, cool. This time against Duna. And let's see how this one goes. So I'm mostly going to play with dash attacks, honestly. And a lot of Retribution Thrust. Because she kind of allows it. Guys, you can go straight from the Retribution Thrust straight into this. Anything she throws at you, let's go straight back into it. It's not even a problem. If she tries to do anything, just... Yeah. Oh, she actually got us. Yep, there we go. Every time, guys, every time. It's just so much damage, honestly. Two perfect parries straight into dash attack. Look at that. Look at that. She's reeling right now. She doesn't know what to do. Okay, here we go. She goes back into her mode. Getting the timing is hard, so grand retribution. And yeah, sometimes it's that easy against Duna at least. If you want to just play dash attacking against Duna and some other monsters like New Udra, it's pretty simple. It's actually not too difficult and it's pretty nice to do. Alright, next Arkveld. Let's go. That was a far off clash, but fair enough. Oh, for this one, just have to get close. And then hit a focus strike. Pretty simple. Oh, almost grabbed me. I want that wound. Remember, sometimes he does that twice, so you need to really think of what's the best option for you. Oh, he's in the pit. Uh-oh. Got some charge counter there. You see that? Payback Thrust right into the charge counter, which isn't easy, but if you can get off, you do a lot of damage. And you can also do it on roars as well. Oh, this is gonna hurt. See, laggy moves, guys, laggy moves. You gotta watch out for the laggy moves. How's this gonna work? I can reach? I think it is. Knew it. Whoa. And there you go, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video and you learned something about the lance and how to play the lance in this game. I haven't really finalized my sets in this game. I can show you what I'm wearing right now, but honestly, it's just Arkveld. It's nothing too crazy in the grand scheme of things. Honestly, guys, but I can show you what I got right now if you really want to see. That's all my skills. We got offensive guard, we got guard, flare, part breaker, black resistance 2, marathon 1 or 2, constitution, divine blessing, stun resistance, stamina surge, elemental absorption, flinch free 1, and shock absorb, which is, yeah, like I said, nothing crazy, but it works, right? It works. Oh, and weakness exploit. I think I said maybe. And guys, before we end, I've actually revised my set, so if you want to check out this one, go ahead. I'll further explain my reasoning for some of the things I've done in this set in another video coming soon, so hope you guys watch that one. But there's much more we can actually do when it comes to the set in general. But here are the decorations I have as well. So hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.